Well, a very pleasant good morning. Welcome to all of the members of the Small Business Association and our associates and partners to this, our August Members Information Session. For those of you who may not know, the Small Business Association organizes a members information event monthly, and we have been using the Zoom platform since the COVID-19 pandemic, and therefore we've incorporated this now into our webinar series. But each month, we join our industry partners and colleagues in discussing a topic of interest, a topic that we believe is of significant importance to the small business sector, and might I add, the business community at large. And today is no exception. I want to say to all of you who are maybe joining us for the first time that our sessions are recorded, and you will have the opportunity in a few days after our event to go online, either the SBA's website, www.sba.bb, or on our YouTube platform, and you can review the recording then. So throughout the session, if you miss any aspect of the conversation, need not worry. The event will be made available on our various platforms after the session today. I'm very excited about today's webinar, colleagues, and I'm sure you'll appreciate why. There's a buzz right now in the country relative to instant payment systems, and the SBA is very pleased to be able to incorporate and include this in our webinar series today. I'm Dr. Lynette Holder, Chief Executive Officer of the SBA, and it is my pleasure to moderate our webinar today. One other housekeeping matter may I add, and that is at the end of our discussion, we will post a link in the chat feature and ask if you have the time, spend another 5 minutes or so with us to complete a short evaluation tool. We do this at the end of our webinars because this allows us to gather information, to understand your thoughts, get feedback from you on the session. So please, if you have a few moments, we are inviting you to stay on and participate in this very short evaluation tool. So that's it for housekeeping, colleagues. Please also note that our webinar is usually just about an hour from 11 to 12 noon. On occasion, depending on the interaction, the questions, etc., we may go an extra 10 minutes or so. But I promise you that we are not going to be inordinately long today. During the presentation, I'm going to invite you rather to jot down your questions, jot down your thoughts, and at the end, we'll have an opportunity on the chat feature of our Zoom platform to engage in questions, comments, and so on. So you're familiar with the SBA's webinar series. You know that we use the chat feature on this Zoom platform for our questions or comments and so on. So we encourage you throughout the discussion to please jot down your questions, comments, and etc. We'll ensure that we will have that conversation with you after the presentation. So we're talking today about instant payment systems. As you know, if you've been paying attention to the media of late, the Central Bank of Barbados recently launched the National Instant Payment System, and there is going to be about 4 or 5 months, we're told, of education and sensitization and ensuring that the public is aware of what the IPS portends for our local business community and for individuals as well. And also to, allay any fears, any concerns relative to this new feature in the business landscape. And I'm sure that as you may have watched the launch, you may have, jotted down some questions, some comments, some concerns that you have. This forum today, we are hopeful, will provide that opportunity that you can have those issues addressed. So without any further ado then, I'm going to look to my colleagues now from the Central Bank of Barbados. I know we have quite a few of them on the call to make sure now that we are ready for our presentation. We have a rather interesting PowerPoint presentation for you today. And I am told just a few moments ago that Governor Greenidge has been called into an emergency session. So, Noveline, we can move straight to Mr. Ernst Verbeek and have the presentation on the National Instant Payment Systems. Now, Mr. Verbeek is the IPS project manager here, working alongside of the Central Bank of Barbados, and obviously has very intimate knowledge as the PM on this particular platform. So at this time then, colleagues, let us invite Mr. Ernst Verbeek, the IPS project manager, to come on and begin the conversation with us and to share the PowerPoint presentation as we look today at the National Instant Payment System and the benefits to small businesses.
Thank you very much, Dr. Holder. This is Noveline. I just want to apologize for the non-attendance at this point of Governor Greenidge. As you said, he's been called away to an urgent meeting, but the Central Bank of Barbados is delighted to partner with the Small Business Association to bring your members up to speed on BimPay, which, as you rightly said, is Barbados's instant payment system. And we have our project manager, Ernst Verbeek, who has been on the ground intermittently for the past 2 months or so, meeting with stakeholders like yourselves. We had engaged with you earlier, and now we are happy to engage with a wider group of the SBA to help them understand exactly what the IPS is, and more particularly how they can benefit from BimPay, the instant payment system, come March 31st, 2026. So Ernst, it's over to you, and thanks again for everyone from the SBA for this opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Noveline, and also thank you, Dr. Holder, for inviting us to this event. I'm very pleased that your members are going to take the time to listen to us for the next 30 minutes or so. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen and show you the PowerPoints. So it'll take just 1 second. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Go right ahead,
Yes.
Mr. Verbeek.
Okay, thank you. So what I'd like to do with you is cover the benefits to individuals and to small businesses of the instant payment system. But before I do, I just want to give you a quick introduction to what the system is all about, and then also close off with a few remarks on data protection, consumer protection, and cybersecurity, because we've had quite a few questions about that. So I can imagine it'll be of interest to your members as well. And then at the end, this is something I won't show you, but I also have some examples of new business opportunities where small businesses in other countries have taken the initiative to use the instant payment system to develop new businesses. So I'm sure could be of interest as well. So anyway, let me start with the background to this. So we're talking about payments. And if you look at payments today in Barbados, there are many ways to pay. You have interbank payments at the central bank level. You have checks. You have credit transfers in bulk or individually. There are also a few initiatives that have come up, like M-Money and Z-Money with e-wallets. You have private label cards, which are like closed loop cards for payments. An example is Pays Digital, but you also have fleet cards, for example, for petrol. The international credit cards are present on the island with Visa, Amex, MasterCard. And obviously, as a payment instrument, you have cash with notes and coins. So like in many countries, you have many ways to pay, but these are not always interoperable. And this is one of the problems that we're trying to solve. So with the advent of BimPay, of instant payments, what we try to do is we try to make payments interoperable, but we also try to make them more faster and less expensive. So those are the three objectives, if you want. The first objective, to make them instantaneous, is the real-time engine that we are building now with BimPay. But in order to make it convenient for people to use, we also need something that's called overlay services, like QR code payments and proxies. But I'll come back to those in a minute. And then finally, in order for it to be efficient and interoperable, it needs to be multi-channel. In other words, it doesn't matter whether I have a mobile phone or whether I stand in a bank branch or whether I'm in front of an ATM. I should be able to execute a payment to somebody else who may, be in a completely different surrounding anyway. I've got a small summary here of what's meant by overlay services, because we often get questions, what are overlay services? So, and these are some of the new services that will be accompanying the implementation of BimPay. One is a so-called proxy service, which allows you to replace a bank account number with another identifier, like a mobile phone number or an email address. In the case of businesses, it could be a VAT number, or in Barbados, what you call the TAMIS number. Another overlay service is the QR code payment, whereby instead of having to put a card into a terminal, all I have to do is show somebody a QR code that I scan, and that QR code contains all the data that are necessary for the payment. Another overlay service is the so-called request to pay, where I, as a business or a biller, can send somebody a request to pay me, and that request contains, a structured data set that contains my bank account number, the amount, a reference number, etc. And also for companies that do a lot of invoicing, instant payment will allow you to do so-called e-invoicing, whereby you can send invoices in bulk with a QR code or a web link, enabling people to pay. And the same with bill payment, which is really a variation on an e-invoicing theme. And then another important overlay services that will be included is the confirmation of payee, where if I make a payment, I also get the feedback to whom I have made the payment, because I may want to make a payment to Dr. Greenidge, who has phone number 12345, but then that phone number is linked to another bank account. So I get a message back before I actually hit OK to make the payment, to say you are transferring, so many dollars to John Smith. Is that correct? So in that moment, I can still correct for the payment if I don't want the payment to go through. So those are some of the typical overlay services that will be included. That's okay. In terms of the project itself, we're taking a phased approach. So where we are today is we're in phase 1, which is where we are developing the system together with the supplier who's providing the software for it. And we will be onboarding 6 commercial banks and 3 credit unions, together with the Barbados Stock Exchange and the Accountant General. Those will be in the first phase because they already have a relationship today with the central bank. And then in a subsequent phase, we'll be onboarding non-banks, for example, wallet providers or mobile money operators or other new businesses that decide to offer a payment service that they want to have authorized by the central bank. And also in a later phase, it'll become possible to do cross-border remittances, in other words, involving other currencies. So the first phase will focus on BBD, on Barbados dollars, but in the later phase, it's foreseen to also be able to do activities with merchants and businesses across borders. Okay, that was let's say, the introduction, but what I'd like to do is explain in a little more detail how BimPay will work. And the best way to do that is to look at, the payment flows of other instruments first, to see what pain points we are trying to solve with BimPay. So if you look at some of the traditional payment instruments that you in your business will probably use today, first of all, there is cash. In order to get cash, I have to go to an ATM or to a bank, get the cash out, use that to pay somebody. That person then has to take that money to his bank, who then takes it back to the central bank, who then gives it to another bank, who then puts it in their ATMs. It's quite a cumbersome process, and it's expensive, it's slow, and also if there's a problem, it's very difficult often to to find an audit trail, because many steps in this process are not documented. Another way of paying is by check. The usage of checks in Barbados is going down. I think that's understandable, because it's slow, it's time consuming, it's manual, it's quite expensive. The unit cost of processing a check is quite high, and it can also be difficult to do reconciliation, because a check doesn't have reference numbers or invoice numbers or anything else. Another way to pay is by bank transfer. Bank transfers are normally semi-manual, and by that I mean the payment itself is automated, but I have to input the amount, the invoice number, another reference number, the date on which I want to be paid. It's context limited, because I can't make a bank transfer anytime, anywhere. And the reconciliation can be limited, because a bank transfer normally doesn't allow for a lot of reference data to be included. Another payment instrument that most of you perhaps have had experience with is at the point of sale with cards. And this is where you have the so-called four-party model with a cardholder, a point of sale, and two banks, although there's also the credit network in the middle. So never understood why they call it four parties when it's really five parties. And here you have you have a card holder who has a card. He takes it to a point of sale. The merchant, the point of sale, needs a terminal to be able to accept that card. The bank of the merchant then has to ask for an authorization via one of the networks. The networks then go to the issuer of the card, who then has to approve it. And then if everything goes well, at the end of the day, the green lines, you get the settlement between the parties. So it's a process that is expensive, because you need terminals, you need cards, you need to pay a lot of fees. And the reconciliation can be limited. It gets even more difficult when you talk about e-commerce, because in the case of e-commerce, for those of you who had experience with it, I'm probably running in an open door here. You need to have a virtual POS provider who can help you accept the payment. There's the point of interaction, where they normally need a gateway provider to hook them up to a bank, and then you have the same process as with cards. And e-commerce transactions tend to be even more expensive than point of sale transactions. And there are also transactions that tend to generate a lot of requests for refund and disputes, which again occupy a lot of admin resources and back office activities. We have something in Barbados that comes close to what BimPay is trying to do, and that's RTP, because RTP is also an instant payment method, but it's not multi-channel. You cannot use it across all the channels I mentioned before, nor do you have all the overlay services to make it as convenient as it could be. And I think that explains why the RTP product in Barbados, even though it's growing, it's not growing as fast as it probably could do, because it has those defects. It's not multi-channel, it doesn't have overlay services. And it's really being used mainly by people who see it as a more efficient way to do a bank transfer. But a lot of other people that, make manual payments, they haven't been converted to digital payments through this product. But this is where BimPay comes in. Having explained, the different defects of the other payment instruments, I hope you can see the importance and the benefits of having not just the real-time payment engine, but also the overlay services with the multi-channel access methods. Few words about the detail of how this system will work. When we talk about a BimPay message, a BimPay payment, or an instant payment in general, we're really talking about a two-legged message. So the first leg of the message is the process whereby somebody who wants to make a payment first has to check that the beneficiary can accept the payment. This is the first leg, whereby I want to make a payment. I go to my bank. The bank sends a message to the central instant payment system. And that payment system will check that the person I want to send the money to has an account that is open. It's not been suspended. It's not listed on a blacklist of AML or anything. And when that is confirmed, the payer is then asked to confirm the payment. And by confirming the payment, the sender's bank will say to this insurance payment system, go ahead, you can make the payment, and the instant payment system will then confirm to the beneficiary that the payment is okay, the funds are in your account. Right? The funds are available to you, and at the same time, the instant payment system will confirm to the sending bank, you can debit the account of the payee. And this whole process takes 5 seconds. So it really is instantaneous. Okay, so that as far as introduction, you've asked us to talk about benefits. So I'll start with a slide on benefits to individuals. So benefits to individuals, the main one I think is safety, because not only is it safer to pay digitally than to use cash, because cash is something you can lose, it can get stolen. We also saw with COVID that cash is not hygienic. So there are many safety benefits to cash. There's also the consumer protection. If I lose cash, it's gone. Whereas if a digital payment goes wrong, there are ways that as a consumer I am protected and I can seek redress. It's also a more transparent process. Everything I do is visible. It's not like when I pay something with cash, I may have forgotten that I paid something, or I may have lost money, or I'm not sure I've lost money. Here, the process is transparent. It's lower cost. We're talking about a system that is going to be available to everybody. So the incremental cost for the computer platform to process a transaction will be very low. Another benefit for an individual is that you can receive a payment with additional information fields. So it may happen that you receive a payment and you're not sure what it's for or where it's from. With instant payments, there is a wider breadth of information data that can be made available as part of the payment message. And then the final benefit for individuals is that it improves access to other financial services. And by that, I mean that many people who before, and we've seen this in other countries, did not make digital payments. Once they started to make digital payments, they also became interested in, getting a loan or making a deposit or applying for an insurance product. And these are things that would not have occurred to them if they hadn't, started to transact digitally in the first place. Okay, now I come to the benefits for small businesses. And here there are several. So I think the first important benefit to note is it improves your cash flow. I mean, I'm probably, praying to the converted here, but, most small businesses cannot survive without cash flow. A large company, needs a strong profit and loss account, but they don't have to worry as much about cash flow as a small business. With instant payments, you have the money in your account instantaneously, so it improves your cash flow. And you have the record of that. That is confirmed to you. The other benefit is payment guarantee. Some risks you may face today with checks bouncing or having to worry about uncollected bills. They don't arise because the payment is immediate. The settlement is irrevocable. The money is in your account. Another benefit is it reduces your risks. So for credit cards, for example, somebody may buy something from you and the payment is authorized. The credit card company credits you with the money, but then 3 weeks later, they can come back with a complaint or with a chargeback or with a dispute. Sometimes, that may not be justified, but it may take 3 or 4 months for that process to run its course. And in the meantime, the funds are blocked. Also, you don't have the risk of overdue or uncollectible receivables because the payment is instantaneous. You know that once you've issued a request for payment, and the payment is made. And what I think is a benefit as well is you have a lower risk of customers dropping out or walking away. So you may have cases in your business where people, because they don't have the option to pay straight away, they say, well, I'll think about it or I'll come back to you. In this case, because they can't pay straight away, you see that there is a certain conversion of customers that is higher than in other circumstances. Another benefit to small businesses is that it lowers your cost. So the payment cost of processing a transaction will be lower. That's what you pay to your bank or to your service provider. Also, the costs that you do not incur. For example, a small business may decide not to accept cards because the terminal is too expensive. With QR codes, you don't need to have a terminal. All you need is a smartphone or a tablet that can scan or that can read QR codes, and that's enough. Another benefit is the lower back office cost. So in order to reconcile some of these transactions, you will have lower back office costs because you will have more data about individual transactions. Another benefit is faster credit. So by having improved cash flow, it also improves your credit track record, and you have a higher volume of formally recorded transactions. And especially somebody who does a lot of business on a cash basis, by having more digital payments, it will be easier for him or her to go to their bank or to go to a credit provider to show that they actually move or generate a certain volume of business that is now documented, whereas before with manual payments it might have been more difficult to prove that you really do the volume of business that you do. Okay, another benefit is efficiency. So it lowers your overhead costs. You don't have to invest in point of sale terminals or in machines that have to check the validity of notes or coins. It also means mainly that you have lower variable costs, so it should improve your margins. And it's efficient in the sense that the payments that you receive, they normally come with a structured data set, so it's easier to reconcile, and you save money at the back end. Okay, and then finally, instant payments can help you and your business, but I think they can also be an opportunity for you, especially for the more entrepreneurial ones amongst you, to look for new products or service models, because the open architecture of instant payments can make it easy for informal businesses to deepen relations with existing customers. For example, with instant payments, it becomes a lot easier to say to somebody, okay, you don't have to pay me everything now, you can pay me in 3 installments. And I program 3 payments and that go out each 4 weeks later. Another opportunity here may be that if you have a customer-facing activity already, and that you become an agent for a bank or for a credit union or for a non-bank financial institution that is trying to set itself up. And because one of the things we see with instant payments is that a lot of the new businesses that are generated by it are done by non-bank financial institutions that rely on agent networks to distribute their services. And this is, again, is something where you might have a role to play, or you might have a new source of income. Another benefit I can see here is that customers that didn't do business with you before because of distance, because they were too far away and you needed them to be physically there to commit to a payment or to sign a contract. With instant payments, it becomes easier for them to engage in a business relationship with you, even if they're at a distance. Okay. So far for the benefits, I have a few more slides on data protection and on cybersecurity. So I'll start with data protection and data privacy and consumer protection. Two important points to make here. One is about data privacy. So because with digital payments you are processing a lot of data, and some of these are of a personal nature. The regulations that are in place today are going to be strengthened so that the provision of a payment service is going to be subject to the Data Protection Act, which basically means that I can only use those data that I need to make this business, and I can not share them with anybody else, and I can only keep them for a certain amount of time, etc. Another important regulatory change is in terms of consumer protection, where the National Payment System Act regulations, the NPSA, they're being updated to make provision for 3 systems that have to be in place to protect the rights of consumers. So any bank or non-bank financial service provider that is engaged in providing instant payment services has to make sure that there is a system that takes care of user complaints, has to make sure that there is a process to handle disputes, and has to make sure that there is a system to seek redress or to appeal to a decision if somebody doesn't agree with the outcome of the way a dispute was handled. Then in terms of cybersecurity, because apart from data and consumer protection, with digital payments, obviously, one very important aspect that we have to consider is cybersecurity. In terms of cybersecurity, some of the things that the central bank is doing is, first of all, we already have today a so-called incident response plan for cybersecurity events. We're doing a gap analysis on that to make sure that there are no gaps in it, and we're going to expand it to include specific requirements that will exist with the instant payment system infrastructure. Because today what the central bank does is basically the RTGS, which is a payment service that runs from 9 till 5. Now we're introducing a system that is going to run 24/7, 365 days a year, and that changes some of the requirements. Also, the entire resilience of the ecosystem will be reviewed, and the guideline that was issued by the central bank a few years ago for the participants in the system to make sure that they all respect cybersecurity guidelines. Those guidelines are going to be reviewed to make sure that they contain anything that is pertinent to instant payment systems. And then finally, the central bank is working on a communications campaign with a digital financial literacy component, and that will also include an educational element to explain people what the risks are and how you can protect against against being phished or hacked or whatever. Because we know that consumer awareness is probably one of the most important tools that we can use to defend against cybersecurity. So the more educated people are, the fewer the incidents of cybersecurity that we see. Okay. I have one more slide on new business opportunities, because like I said before, as small businesses, I think instant payments can benefit your business, but because small businesses are also normally entrepreneurial, and they do new things. One comment I'd like to make is that with instant payments, there are also new business opportunities that for some of you may be of interest. Because what we've seen in many other countries is that private sector firms, they don't only use instant payments because it's a nice tool to save costs, but it also can help them build a business that creates new products or attracts more users, and especially in the area of fintech, there have been very many small businesses that have started as fintechs that have become very successful. And we don't have time to go through it today, but I hope it will be of interest for you. What I've done is I've attached to this presentation 6 or 7 slides with examples of successful fintech startups in other parts of the world, and perhaps there will be activities there that might be of interest to you as well. So with that, I'm at the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
As I shared earlier, the governor had an emergency just at the beginning of the start of the webinar, but he is with us, and I'm sure he has a lot to say. So
Good morning,
welcome, sir.
yes. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. And you?
Oh, fantastic.
Yes,
good
we
morning
have
to
close to
everyone.
160 members, and we have close to 160 members and partners waiting
Well,
to
I see
hear from you.
167. This is amazing. The interest is certainly amazing. And good morning to each and every one of you. As you were told, I had an emergency meeting that I needed to conduct. But as soon as we were able to end that, I'm here. I also know you were in good hands with Ernst making a presentation from the technical side and the benefits that would have come to you, which of course would then have preempted my introduction. You will have seen from that now the benefits that can accrue to small businesses, not only in terms of cash flow, but also in terms of not having even to miss transactions because you have another means of pay. And I stress that. Option. You can take cash, but if a fella ain't got cash, you don't gotta tell him, he ain't gonna go and come back. He can immediately pay you if you have put in place some of the additional services like QR codes and things like that. I see this really as a game changer for small businesses, because in general, what we're doing, we are building infrastructure, right? And then many businesses will come along that. The banks will offer additional services, etc. Fintech comes with offer additional services. So you're going to have, let's say, a service where you have an app and you can get requests if you're a small businessman and your business, I see, is small from micro up to medium size. I think small businesses, the number last time I checked, there's a vast amount of them in Barbados. They play a very important economic role. But a lot of it goes sometimes unnoticed. But more importantly, it is a sector I think have a lot of potential and can grow. One thing that also comes to mind, I'm not went through these things, is that in terms of financing, one of the issues I know a small business faces financing, finding the money. And the reason why sometimes because you have to go to the banks and you have to, traditional finance, you need to present a history of your cash flow, your transactions, how you've been doing. And this sometimes areas where small business fall down. But with this service now, once you're using service, you have a track record. So if I'm a small businessman and let's say I have a lawnmower business, a landscaping business, and I send to you, Dr. Holder, an invoice, request to pay because I've just cut your lawn, and I send a bill with a QR code on it, you scan and pay me, or you request to pay. Once it comes through the app, it will always be a record for me. 2-3 years, I have it there. I go to the bank, that's what I have been, my business flows, so like I present. So now I've solved that problem. You can assess and analyze how the flow is looking, etc. So a lot of benefits, not missing potential sales because people don't have cash, being paid on time, you don't have to wait till the bank open, and that solves your cash flow because you may need to restock, etc. Being able to have more data to be able to not only analyze how you're doing, but to probably be able to secure better credit. So the potential is tremendous. So perhaps I imagine you had a whole comprehensive presentation because I saw it. So maybe best I thought less you ask questions and maybe I can I'll be able to answer them to the best of my ability.
Thank you very much, Governor. We actually have about 15 questions waiting for you and the team. Ernst, as he was presenting, he did see some of the questions flashing across. So we can jump right into it and look at the questions. I see one here coming from Kevin. During the payment verification process, the presenter mentioned one of the automatic processes would be checking against a blacklist. So the question is, can you please clarify how a person or entity would end up on a blacklist?
Well, there are many ways you can blacklist. I mean, this is not unique to this system, right? Let's say you go on transaction in a bank and for some reason, because of some activity you've been put on a list where they no longer do business with you, then the question is that same method in which a normal transaction cannot happen because you are now on this list not to do business with for whatever reason, that is transferred now to a digital framework where it must check to make sure that you cannot circumvent or do something that you shouldn't necessarily be able to do. So that's not a bad thing. We'll focus on that. That'd be very rare and very few in the circumstance. You know, that's quite rare. In Barbados, I don't know of many. I know maybe one or two individuals that at most that are being put on a blacklist in terms of financing.
Okay.
So it's not a concern. We concern myself as a small business person.
All right. Okay. All right. So what about the BimPay being accessible in regional international markets and for regional international transfers and receipts?
So
do you contemplate this when we launch in March 2026?
So look at it this way: we have to build our domestic space first. Get it right. Build a instant payment system where you can transfer within seconds. It's safe and secure. Get that right domestically first. So we're improving what we have, which is quite fragmented. Once they have done this, and we have sparing no resource to make sure we have the state-of-the-art, future-proof, and safe, meaning that the next stage will be to integrate at the regional level. Work is happening regional already. We have something called CAPS, Caribbean Payment and Settlement System, but it's going very slowly for a number of reasons, including the fact that no other country in the region has a national payment system. So it's taking a little while. But once we'll be the first to have a national payment system in the region, instant national payment system in the region. I mean, as far as Belize. And we have probably one of the best in the Western Hemisphere. Once the others start to put their act together, then we can seamlessly integrate with that. And then we can seamlessly integrate at a global level. So we are ready when the rest of the world is ready, so to speak. But when we launch on March 31st, that will not be for cross-border. That's for domestic, right? The usual way for cross-border will continue to be. But we will go to that eventually. But you have tremendous benefits just at the local level, trust me.
Okay. All right. So here's a question from Valis. What measures will be put in place to allow funds received in the wallet from clients, customers to be transferred now to the commercial banks to assist with meeting KYC requirements?
So first of all, let me explain a bit more. And Ernst and my team, if I say something not quite correct, feel free to interject and say that because you're the experts. So I speak it in a layman's term for you. Huh? When we build the infrastructure, BimPay instant payment system. Now, BimPay is an app. It will have an app capabilities, but other financial institutions can take that app and put their name on it. So you can go Small Business Association Pay. You can within any app that you got right now. We know about First Pay, for example. They could remain the name, but they could plug into BimPay. It doesn't matter. Once that they can keep their name, they can change it, but they will be plugged into BimPay. If another bank has a pair, it's plugged into BimPay. If a credit union have a pair, it's plugging. So it's one app, kind of speaking. So now you go and download the app, BimPay. Some businesses, some of your customers send you money, so you got $1,000 in your app. How can they use this $1,000 in the app? So on the app, you will see $1,000. You can go and buy supplies. You can, any merchant transaction you can do. They either have a QR code or some request to pay. Let's say you want to buy supplies from a company, they can send you request to pay. So you're paying supplies. You're paying. That's one way, right? You're paying. Another way, you're transferring money to your aunt, your uncle, somebody, you know, need some money, you transfer. But you got a balance, $400. The app will have the option for you to link to a bank account in a financial institution. Link your bank account. So what a bank account you got, you can link. Because there's such a thing as cash out. So when you cash out, you can load the money into your bank account, or you could do reverse load money from your bank account onto your app to be used. So there's a link between your bank account, your business account, whoever you put behind it thing. Or even I would say BimPay, when you have a QR code at your business, you have a shop, and people scan and pay, it goes directly to your account, your bank account, and then you can load it to your app or whatever. So there'll be cash out, cash ways to do it. And my vision is that as we go further and financial institutions and fintech start providing many services, you may have a case where you have 7 terminals, like ATM machines that you can cash out. You don't even need a bank. So
as you're sharing, Governor, actually you are addressing some of the questions that they see here. So no need to call them out, but there are a few persons asking about costs. So you can maybe share with us the what's the cost, what's the anticipated cost maybe for the user, if there's any.
user.
Yes, for the
You will not
user.
see a cost on you will not pay a cost to access BimPay or any other service of it. Because right now, digital services, person to person, via Accenture has made free of no fee. So no financial institution charge a fee to transfer money person to person. It's when you or even transfer from you person to a business, they can't do that. Business to business is a fee, but if you were a small business, and it was difficult, even though it was difficult, we tried to protect small businesses by saying something on the cash under 10,000, right? If you had in daily cash under 10,000, say, okay, you're a small business. In that scenario, the banks can't charge you for conking cash and things like that. So there'll be no additional costs for you. From the banks and the institution who's plugging, actually, they are going to have a reduction. We don't know how much. There'll be a reduction in cost, which they can pass on to the customer in other ways. So there's no fee, so to speak.
And who administers the system that drives the platform is another question I'm seeing here. Will it be locally administered?
Central Bank oversees own operating system. So you have the credibility of one of the premier financial institutions in the Caribbean own operating system.
All right. I like Kevin's question here. This is another Kevin, sir, not you.
God, they're a good guy then.
Kevin Willis. Will government utilize BimPay to process and disperse payments due under contract?
That's phase 2. Right now in phase 1, we will have connected all the commercial banks. Anyone who right now connected payment system, which is commercial banks, they're connecting, and the 3 credit unions, the largest ones. Also, the stock exchange will be connected by the 31st. And Michelle, whoever here, is it? I think it is also
the accountant general. The accountant general.
So that they can make payments. Going forward, there's a lot of excitement in phase 2. I imagine a scenario where the treasury will be connected by revenue authority, meaning that you can pay your taxes as flick of a button, An AS will be connected and send out pensions and checks at the flick of a button you receive, etc. So in the fullness of time, the entire government sector will be connected.
Okay. I see another Kevin. I'm so sure because Governor, you were slated to speak. We attracted all kind of Kevins. I'm seeing another Kevin Blackman here now.
Good people follow one another.
Right. Okay. For an individual without a bank or credit union account, and this was an issue I recall after the launch last week. Persons wanted to know that we addressed today's session. If you don't have a bank account, you don't have a credit union account, how does it really work?
So imagine if you don't have it and the app, BimPay, whatever institution have app, you download the app. You must be able to identify yourself. So you probably put in your national ID or whatever is to activate the app. And at the moment, then you'll be able to someone transfer money to you. You somehow is loaded onto your app. It will show a balance on your app when you transfer. And then you transact or not transact. At the end of the day, you can pay your bills, buy food, do anything you want, transfer. The only thing you can't do is send it to an account because you ain't got no account. So it worked very much. I don't know. I mean, I know with small business, many of you will have traveled. I don't know if you can see my phone, see if it will work.
Yes, yes.
All right, this is I just want to show you an example of an app. This is an app. So in rebuilding BimPay in Barbados, it's not unique. At least I've heard saying number more than 60% of the countries in the world has moved that way. So in USA, I got FedNow. That's their national instant payment system. They have a private one, but we are not big enough to keep a private and a public one at the same time. So built on the federal payment system, a number of fintech companies spun out and provide apps. So for example, this one is called, this is Cash App. Cash App. I use it because you see request to pay, you will see send money. So you got to act like that. Now, I don't have to have an account to use it. But if you go, you will see I have $150 in it. Now I can use this $150 to send money to my son, pay for groceries, pay for bills or anything. If I don't have an account, I just can't cash out. Unless I can go to a merchant if they have a special QR code, I can cash out. And in there though, I also have the option to link in it to a bank account, a credit union account, or any account. Cash out or put money into it. So it gives you that flexibility. Right? One of the things I want to stress is that see it as when we build instant payment system, say that we have this big billboard. This is a flat screen, a billboard. And then any financial institution, any credit union member, any company, I think, can come and develop an app and place it open there and call it their app. But it's connected behind here by BimPay. You understand me? So like, for example, I just show you Cash App. But in the United States, they got otherwise about Zella. You probably hear about Zella amongst your members. You hear about Apple Pay, you hear about Google Pay.
Okay, yeah.
And I got one use Greenidge to send money to my son who's in university through credit card. And they all offer different services, some more investment services. So what we are doing is providing a platform for other financial innovations that spring up that will benefit many businesses, including small businesses. Right? Central bank is not in the retail space. We provide the infrastructure. But man, these services, so let me say if I use one, we're here, we know that. We got 6 commercial banks. 2 of them in Caribbean, in Barbados offer some sort of instant. It's not instant, but it's fast. So first pay is a fast pay. But you got to log into your account first of all. They're not really an app. And then when you log into your account, you got a lot of information. But if all Kevin Greenidge is not on first pay, you can't first pay me anything. Now with BimPay, once the national payment system is up, when you log in or you use first pay, because first pay is now plugging to BimPay, behind there is only one pay, BimPay. And if it's Scotia Pay, I could be where anybody pay, you can still be able to instantly transfer me.
All right.
Because behind here, if I go back to my app, there's a QR code. Just many people know this, but I just show you. If I go here and I will show you. So if somebody want to send me some funds, where is that thing? You'll see the QR code comes up. Now,
Yes, you see
if
the
you
QR.
want to test it, and Dr. Holder, you can scan that and try send me some money. And try 250 or so. But you see, you
Let's
can
have money
scan and you
first.
send me a code. So that's how it kind of works. It's very open up opportunity and space for individuals and people to do fast. The focus is fast, safe, secure.
Can you expand a little bit on the safety side? I know Ernst had a slide there on
So yeah,
cybersecurity. We're
being
getting
you
some
are a
questions here
technical
about
part, let me tell you about
cybersecurity.
safety. Right now we have an instant payment system, is a BASHI, we put it on BASHI, and that does with the that called the real-time transfer, and it has bulk, and we have piece in central bank called RTGS. It's kind of fragmented, but that also have security bells in there and structures and things to save. When we in our system, anything that already exists will exist with us in terms of security, but there are many levels on that double authentication. There are all the bells and whistles built into there to minimize incidents of breach and cybersecurity. So very safe. In addition to that, by the nature of it, it even intrinsically is a little safer. It's safer because if you had this app, Dr. Holder, and I was to send you a transaction, you would get it in less than a second. That minimized as opposed to a minute or few on the other network. So the time between transactions, coupled with verification of who you're sent to, plus you're using alias, etc., also increase the level of safety. Now, nothing is foolproof. There'll always be people trying. And that's where the educational component come in. We launched an extensive education component. We started August 12th to educate people on how to use safely the app. It's like you have an ATM machine, you have an ATM card. A safe approach when you go to use the ATM is look around, make sure nobody is seeing you, cover your code, you type in, you move. On safe one will be going there and you expose and you people behind you, you're paying attention. So those are educational things. So but you have the central bank started record of safety behind it.
Okay. So Roland is asking, you talked about phases, huh? This is phase one is March 2026, and you talked about the second and third phases and so on. So the question is, can we glean from this that we'll be able to use this internationally once fully implemented?
Not at some point in time, we'll be integrate regional internationally. But I am fooling, but that's gonna take a while because it depends on the regional systems. In sense, I'm ready, you build your house, you're ready to go, and others can't interact with you. But I think our cell phone, and then you using your old phone, if you remember that. But all you talk and talk in the world, I can't communicate with you myself on the whole thing. Anyway, I can't send you the text and anything, the whole dial. So to the extent that the region and individual countries get the systems up, then we can talk. Outside that, we can only build our space and work as much as we can.
Okay. There were so many questions. I admit, Governor, that Noveline has promised to get the team to take some of them because I think we might have missed a few. But this last one here from Roland, this is an interesting one. He says, going through the presentation that Ernst gave, looking at safety, there was a mention of a no cashback process. But there was a section speaking on consumer protection, which highlighted the need for processes which can help manage complaints and disputes. And he says, that seems a bit contradictory.
Let me explain that in layman terms. Right now, if you use Zella, if you're going to use Zella, it should be familiar with Zella, a US system. Am I correct to think most people familiar with Zella?
Some people.
Yeah.
Some.
It will tell you, be careful. Ask you 3 or 4 times. You're sure because when it's sent, you ain't get that. Okay? Ask you press on it. That's the sort. It's one way. At the same time, if I made an error, there's an institution behind it. Whoever provide you with the service, you can request and have a dispute, and it will be resolved. So it too is not inconsistent, if you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
So you have to make sure, because so any financial fintech company spraying are providing you with a wallet that will be registered and approved by central bank to set up. The national payment system gives that authority. So you will make sure that they have the necessary KYCs and prudential requirements in place, that they are legitimate. That's the first step. And then built in with that will be usual ways and customer dispute framework and things that they must know. So the two is not incompatible. Okay? I don't know, Ernst, you want to add anything more to what I said?
No. I think you've summarized it quite well. I mean, with instant payments, the settlement is instantaneous, but there will always be mistakes, or there will always be issues where somebody has a genuine reason why a payment shouldn't have gone through, and that's where the dispute process has been put in place for.
And then even addition to that, I use that a lot. So like, because I'm here, I'm trying to manage a home I have in Washington, like pay a bill. The guy went there to fix the HVAC system. We don't have to worry with those things in Barbados. HVAC. It has to produce heat in the winter. It has to produce cold in the heat. And the thing gone bum. And he gone to fix it the other day. I had to sell him some money. And when I sell him, it was $1,500. The system paused it because I had done about 3 sales before. They said it's looking funny. They're looking right. Please call this number. So then there are those checks and things where a thing appear out of sync what you usually do. And it says call. And then also it says you can only sell $2,500 per day. So if you want to use a different transaction, so these are bottom checks to make sure that you are not taken advantage of, and if you have a mistake. So if I put in 25,000, I mean, if I was so privileged to have that money, it will not go through. So these checks and balances in between there. And every time I send something, instantaneously, the recipient see it and can say, I get it. So I done, we get it. And instantaneously, it comes out and I can see information. And so I've been using since I live in the US as an economist at LMF. And I can use my experience, please. So forgive me. I've never had an error occur. Right? The error will occur, and even because what happened is that, let's say I want to pay, Dr. Waller, I want to pay you. And you tell me, well, use this number 232-322221. That's the number you give me. So I put that in my app because you need an alias to identify. It goes in the background, it does all the verification check in a split. That's in another second. I come and say, this number is registered to Dr. Porter of Small Business Association. So immediately you can see, oh yeah, I got your right number. And they sent it to Harry Jones for someone else. So all these different layers of checks and things to ensure that the consumer, you're making the right, sent to the right person at the right time.
Okay. All right, we're gonna wrap up now. I want to take this last question from Keisha. I think it's a rather interesting one. How can the elderly, those that may have cash, but they want to get that cash onto their mobile wallet, they don't have an account, a bank account, is there going to be a system where they deposit that with some central bank facility, ATM? How do they get that cash onto their mobile wallet?
So 2 things. First of all, in fact, you brought the elderly. I just want to mention that we've just engaged with Barbados Retirement Association persons to put on an extensive program to educate the elderly, which include provisions like iPads and things like that. So I just want to mention that we're not leaving any segment of society out. The other thing is that you'll be surprised, but there are very few elderly that don't have accounts somewhere. There were the people that had pocketbooks before. You remember the little passbook before this thing became. So most of them got out of their pass, but still. So I guarantee you they got them first. Look, let me think about this real. Cash is a physical thing, right? A digital is digital. You got to get the physical to the digital. So you either got in your bank account and being transferred, or somebody sending you, whether it's a business, your pension, whether it's a tax refund, whether it's your granddaughter, your grandson sending you. So if my grandmother, for example, not her, that would be a miracle beyond recourse because she's no longer in this planet living. But let's say the elderly folk I have want to use the app and they got $1,000 and they ain't got a bank account. Well, they give a trusted person, me, their son, the $1,000 and I transfer to their app. They have to find a way to get the money on the app from a hard to a digital. So they give me or scores me and I pay on. But I think those will be few in between. Most people, they're receiving a pension or they're receiving a refund or some account being paid, or they got the money in the account already and they just using it.
Okay. All right. We are out of time, folks. I mean, we can go on, Governor, and have this conversation. I'm sure there are so many other questions, and we were going to take all the questions, folks. Just let you know, we're jotting them down, and we'll get Noveline and her team to get responses for us and feedback into you. But
And not only that, I think, not adding to that, I think by doing what you're saying we'll be able to consistently update our frequent asked questions. So we won't send to you, but we'll be able to update our website, which have a lot of information with frequently asked questions that may relate to you also. So I think, and as different questions come to light, you must send them.
All right. So, Governor, we're going to give you, please, the final words to share your closing remarks with us as we wrap up our session today.
My closing remarks is basically that this, for me, if I was a small business person, I'd be excited because you're gonna have another option of making payments. For most person, I think it will start to ease cash flow because most of the time you do something, you gotta wait for money coming because the person got the money, got the bank man, there's a transfer. It will provide that option, and I think that can be one of the main benefits. You will not miss much sales. This time you have options where people no longer, I remember I keep telling this story. I remember it was in the Havana, Miami. I saw an old gentleman selling nuts. That'd be a king of the coconut vendor or somebody beach selling things on the beach. He just little cones with the nuts in there. And he looked at me and said, I said, no tengo dinero. I felt very proud. No tengo dinero. I want nuts. I don't want him bugging me on. He said, again, I'm going where you're going. He looked at me and said, cash out, cash out. Now, I don't like to waste a line unnecessary. So I said, yes, please. He said, all right, cash out. So I just issue my code, scan my code, and in less than a minute, I walk away with 2 bags of nuts that I didn't need. And he got sales that he would never have gotten. And whether it was learned or not, the point is he was ready for it. And he had no other device on me except his mobile phone. And nobody ain't robbing him because he got no cash. So I think this is exciting. So we're here to work with you as a partner to move it forward. Whatever questions you have, we will come and explain, and we expect to have more of these as we continue to roll out.
Yes, we will. So thank you very much. We've been hearing this afternoon from Dr. Kevin Greenidge, Governor of the Central Bank of Barbados, and his team. We heard from Ernst Weberg. He's the project manager with the APS program here. Noveline Brewster, the Director of Communications, and her team. They've all been with us for our August webinar. And in the event that you join late, please do not fear. They said at the beginning, all of our sessions are recorded. So in another couple of days, when we do our edits and so on, we will place this webinar on our website, SBA TV, as well as our YouTube channel that you can go on and you can watch at your leisure and pleasure. Also note that in the ensuing weeks, we will be collaborating even further with the Central Bank. Small Business Week is coming up in September, the end of September, and we hope to have other opportunities that we'll have the Central Bank team to talk a bit more about the instant payment system as they too continue to roll out their educational program. So again, members of the association, friends and colleagues all, thank you for sharing a part of your Thursday with us. God bless you all. We see you on the next occasion for another members information session. Please stay on for at least 2-3 minutes and complete our short feedback tool. The link should be there in the chat for you. We just want to get your feedback on today's sessions. If you have that time, please stay on and give us your feedback. Thank you so much, Dr. Greenidge and the team from the Central Bank.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
And you have a wonderful and blessed day to all.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. Bye-bye for now, folks. See you on the next time.